There are some circumstances under which stalls can occur without the normal warning signs and with possibly unexpected or different symptoms from a straightforward simple stall. A crossed control stall can occur when flying at high angles of attack with rudder applied in the opposite sense to the ailerons, over-applied, or even just applied when not required. In other words, in any out-of-balance state. This state will be confirmed by the displacement of the ball in the slip indicator. Crossed control stalls can occur with little or no warning. One wing will stall well before the other, and a quite sudden wing drop can occur. The instinctive reaction to correct the wing drop with aileron must be resisted, as it could make the asymmetry of lift worse. At all times, and especially at low airspeeds in combination with high angles of attack, the rudder should be used to keep the ball in the middle to maintain balanced, coordinated flight. An accelerated stall is caused by an abrupt or excessive pitching up demand on the flying controls. It can occur during a sudden change in flight path during maneuvers demanding high pitch rates, such as steep turns or recovery from a dive. It is called an accelerated stall, or G-stall, because it occurs at a load factor greater than 1 G. An accelerated stall is usually more sudden than a 1 G stall, the first sign usually being heavy airframe buffet, and may be unexpected because of the relatively high airspeed. For example, in a 2G turn, stalling speed will be 1.41 times the 1G speed, and in a 4G dive pull-out, double the 1G speed, the increase being, as you have learned, proportional to the square root of the load factor. The so-called secondary stall is actually no different aerodynamically from an accelerated or G-stall, being a stall at a load factor greater than 1. It is known as a secondary stall when it is triggered while attempting to recover from a stall, usually by trying to hasten the recovery. This can happen either from an insufficient decrease of the angle of attack or by not allowing the aircraft to accelerate to flying speed before pulling up to regain lost height. To avoid or correct this situation, the solution is simply to maintain full or maximum power and relax any back pressure, or move the control column forward slightly, and allow the aircraft to regain a safe flying speed before regaining lost height. During airline type conversion training on large aircraft, full stalls are not practiced except in flight simulators. To familiarize pilots with the characteristics of their aircraft, only the approach to the stall, down to stick shaker activation, is carried out. For jet aircraft with swept wings, there are no special considerations during the approach to the stall. At the stick shaker, either power on or power off, the aircraft can be recovered by moving the control column smoothly forward until the shaker stops, simultaneously increasing power to the maximum recommended to minimize height loss, and preventing or correcting any wing drop with roll control and rudder to balance, then raising gear and flaps at appropriate speeds if down. For multiprop aircraft, the recovery sequence is almost identical, except that the wings should be leveled with coordinated use of rudder and aileron. The reason for this difference is that the propeller-driven aircraft will experience rapid changes in slipstream and propeller torque during the power increase, and it is essential that the pilot coordinates his control movement during the power change to keep the aircraft in balance. That is, with the ball in the middle. Prevention of yaw is particularly important during stall and recovery. For single-engine propeller aircraft, an incipient stall recovery at the stall warning involves moving the control column smoothly forward to unstall the wings, which is judged by the absence of the stall warner or any signs of an incipient stall, and, at the same time, increasing the power to maximum. Yaw should be prevented with rudder, and the wings levelled with aileron once unstalled, then height regained. A power on stall and recovery pose extra complications. At the nose high attitude associated with a power on stall, there will be appreciable turning effects from the propeller. These will be discussed in the lessons on propellers. Pilots of single-engine aircraft, when flying at low speeds, must be prepared to compensate for the effects of the propeller and of power changes in all three axes, and of gyroscopic forces from the propeller if the nose drops during a stall. It is worth reiterating that any tendency to yaw must be stopped to avoid a spin. This would be particularly true in a high-power, low-speed situation, such as after takeoff or during a go-around, where the pilot's attention could be diverted from the speed and balance. If a stall does occur in this situation, correct and immediate recovery action should be taken at the first sign. Forward movement of the control column, ailerons neutral, and rudder to prevent yaw. A stall that develops into a spin at low level could be irrecoverable. When an aircraft is in a level coordinated turn at a constant angle of bank, the inside wing is moving through the air at a slightly lower speed than the outside wing, and consequently generates less lift. If the ailerons are exactly neutral, the aircraft would have a tendency to roll in the direction of bank, or over bank. If the pilot holds the required attitude and bank angle, he will actually be holding a small aileron deflection to oppose the roll, sometimes known as holding off bank. The deflection, although probably undetectable from control column position, is greater for low speeds than for high speeds. The inner or lower wing will have a slightly greater angle of attack than the outer wing because of the difference in aileron position, and may reach the critical angle first. In a climbing turn, the airspeed is likely to be lower, but with full or high power, and in a single propeller aircraft, the rolling and yawing forces from the propeller and its slipstream will add to the control deflections required for balanced flight, and may complicate the aircraft's reactions in a stall. In a descending turn, the power is likely to be at a low or idle setting. In the event of a stall, the pilot would need to counteract the forces arising around all three axes, as the power is increased through most or all of its range during a stall recovery. As with any situation, it is important for the controls to be coordinated, and particularly so where the aircraft is at or close to the stall, to prevent an inadvertent spin. Regardless of configuration, attitude, speed or power setting, the correct action to be taken by the pilot in the event of a stall warning is to carry out the stall recovery technique applicable to the type of aircraft. Invariably, this will include decreasing the angle of attack below the critical angle to unstall the wings, simultaneously applying maximum permissible power to accelerate and minimize height loss and prevent yaw from developing. At any stage of flight, it is important to fly in balance, but when close to the stall, it is essential to keep control movements coordinated to avoid an inadvertent spin. Remember, keep the ball in the middle.